Story 16. Stalked in a Hotel, the chilling true story of a dangerous intruder. Earlier this year, I had a business trip that took me to Kingston-upon-Thames, a quiet area just outside London. The trip was nothing out of the ordinary at first, and I chose the Doubletree by Hilton for its proximity to the venues where my meetings were held. It seemed like a smart choice, convenient, professional, and well-reviewed. I had no reason to think anything unusual would happen. The first 3 days were routine. My mornings were spent in meetings, my afternoons exploring the town, and my evenings unwinding in my room. Kingston-upon-Thames was charming, with its cobblestone streets and picturesque riverside views. I even found a small cafe where I could sit and watch the world go by. Everything felt peaceful, almost serene. But on the 4th day, something changed. I didn't notice it at first. It was subtle, like a faint whisper at the edge of your hearing. As I walked down the long, carpeted hallway to my room that evening, I felt it. A strange sensation, like someone's eyes were on me. I glanced over my shoulder, but the hallway was empty. The soft hum of the fluorescent lights overhead was the only sound. I shook off the feeling, attributing it to the fatigue of a long day. But as I reached my door and slid the keycard in, I hesitated. For just a moment, I thought I heard footsteps, soft and deliberate, pausing just out of sight. I turned quickly, scanning the hallway again. Still, there was nothing. Once inside my room, I locked the door and leaned against it, exhaling deeply. The room was as I'd left it, clean, orderly, and welcoming. I told myself I was being paranoid, probably overthinking after a long day. I grabbed a drink from the mini fridge and tried to relax. The next morning, I found a note under my door. It was printed on the hotel's stationery, complete with the Doubletree logo. It read, "Want to skip the wait? Order room service online. Scan this QR code to get started." A QR code was neatly printed below the text, and everything about it looked legitimate. The convenience of ordering online appealed to me, especially since I'd be working late that evening. Later that night, after returning from a long meeting, I decided to give the service a try. I scanned the QR code, and it took me to a website that looked professional, clean design, the same logo, and a full menu of options. I logged in using my Hilton Honors account and placed an order for a sandwich and a drink. The confirmation screen assured me my order would arrive in 20 minutes. An hour later, my tray hadn't arrived. Frustrated, I called the front desk to ask about my order. The receptionist seemed confused. "We don't offer an online ordering service," she said. "Are you sure you placed the order through us?" I hesitated, suddenly unsure. "It was a link from a note under my door," I explained. There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Ma'am, we didn't distribute any notes." "That might have been a mistake. Can you bring it to the desk tomorrow?" Something about her tone unnerved me. I hung up, staring at the printed note. Could it have been a prank? Or worse, some kind of scam? But who would go through the trouble to create such an elaborate fake website? I brushed it off, deciding it wasn't worth worrying about. I'd grab dinner elsewhere and forget the whole thing. That night, I noticed him for the first time. As I turned the corner to my hallway, there he was, a man in a dark hoodie, slouched against the wall halfway down. He was scrolling on his phone, his hood pulled low over his face. I didn't think much of it at first. Guests came and went all the time, and he could have been waiting for someone or just checking messages. But as I walked closer, I felt his eyes on me. He lifted his head slightly, just enough for me to catch the glint of his gaze. Our eyes met for a brief moment, and something about his expression made my skin crawl. It wasn't curiosity or even friendliness, it was something darker, something I couldn't quite place. I quickened my pace, fumbling with my keycard as I reached my door. When I glanced back, he was still there, his eyes locked on me. I stepped inside and bolted the door, trying to shake off the unease. It was probably nothing, I told myself. Just another guest acting strange. But that didn't stop me from double-checking the lock before I went to bed. The next morning, I woke to an unsettling discovery. A cold draft brushed against my face as I opened my eyes. I turned toward the balcony, and my heart sank. The door was slightly open. I was sure I'd locked it the night before. Absolutely certain. I always made a point of securing balcony doors in hotels, especially since I was traveling alone. But now, the lock was undone, and the door had been left ajar just enough for the wind to seep in. Panic surged through me as I quickly shut the door and locked it again. I checked the room, my heart pounding in my chest. Nothing seemed out of place, but the unsettling feeling was impossible to ignore. Had someone been in my room? Or had I simply forgotten to lock the door in my exhaustion? I tried to convince myself it was the latter. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right.